It begins quietly, almost like a folk song, a gentle guitar figure, a recorder-like melody, a voice that sounds as if it is telling an ancient story. Then, slowly, the song changes. The drums arrive, the energy rises, the guitars grow heavier. The whole thing keeps climbing until it becomes one of the most famous rock endings ever recorded. For more than 50 years, Stairway to Heaven has been treated as something more than a song. A masterpiece, a cliché, a rite of passage, a mystery, a sacred text for rock fans, and, eventually, one of the most argued about recordings in music history. It is a song people love, parody, debate, overplay, study, misunderstand and still return to. But why? Why did Stairway to Heaven become so huge? Why did it become surrounded by so much myth? And why does it still have such power decades later? This is the story behind Stairway to Heaven. By the end of 1970, Led Zeppelin were already one of the most powerful bands in the world. They had changed hard rock, they had taken blues, folk, psychedelia and volume, then pushed everything further. Jimmy Page had the vision, Robert Plant had the voice, John Paul Jones had the musical intelligence, John Bonham had the force. Together they sounded enormous, but Led Zeppelin did not want to be trapped by one idea of what heavy rock could be. They were not interested in simply making the same record again and again. They wanted mystery, light and shade, acoustic beauty and electric power, old-world atmosphere and modern aggression. That is the world Stairway to Heaven came from. The song began with Jimmy Page. He had been developing a piece of music that moved gradually from delicate acoustic passages into something much larger. It was not built like a normal single. It was not designed to hit hard immediately. It was designed to unfold, to climb, to create anticipation. That was one of its great strengths. Most rock songs announce themselves quickly. Stairway to Heaven invites the listener to wait. It asks for patience, then rewards it. Robert Plant's lyrics added another layer of mystery. They were not direct, they did not tell a simple story. They suggested a world of symbols, choices, longing, and spiritual searching. Plant later became uncomfortable with some of the song's language, but at the time it fitted perfectly with the atmosphere Page had created. The words gave the music a sense of myth, not a clear message, not a neat explanation, a feeling, and that distinction matters. Some songs are powerful because they explain themselves. Stairway to Heaven is powerful because it never fully does. The recording took shape during the sessions for Led Zeppelin's fourth album. Much of that album was associated with Headley Grange, a former workhouse in Hampshire, where the band could escape normal studio pressures and experiment. It was not glamorous in the conventional sense, but it gave Led Zeppelin space. Space to create, space to be strange, space to sound like themselves. Stairway to Heaven was eventually recorded across sessions that helped give the fourth album its unique character. The band were capturing something that felt both ancient and modern, a song that seemed to belong to no obvious time. That timeless quality is one reason it lasted. The structure of Stairway to Heaven is one of the most important parts of its power. It begins with restraint, then it adds layers, a little more movement, a little more urgency, a little more volume. The listener feels the song growing before fully understanding where it is going. That gradual build is now famous, but it was a bold choice. The song was more than 8 minutes long. It did not have the obvious shape of a radio single. It moved slowly. It asked the audience to follow a journey, and they did. That is one of the great myths about pop and rock music. People often assume audiences only want immediacy, short songs, instant hooks, fast rewards. But Stairway to Heaven proved that listeners will follow something long and unusual if the journey feels worth taking. And this journey felt enormous. Then there is the guitar solo, one of the most celebrated guitar solos in rock history. It does not arrive early. It arrives after the song has earned it. That timing is crucial. By the time the solo appears, the listener has already traveled through the quieter world of the song. The solo feels like release, not decoration, release. Then the final section erupts. The band becomes thunderous. Bonham's drums give the ending weight. Page's guitar becomes sharper and more urgent. Jones holds the music together. Plant's voice rises to meet the drama, and then, just as suddenly, the storm clears. The ending does not simply stop, it leaves a final phrase hanging in the air. That sense of drama helped turn the song into a ritual. Listeners did not just hear Stairway to Heaven, they experienced it. In the 1970s, it became a centerpiece of FM rock radio. It was too long to behave like a conventional single, but perfect for album-oriented radio. At concerts, it became a moment, a song the audience waited for, a song that seemed to gather meaning as the night went on. Over time, it became so famous that it almost escaped the band's control. That is what happens with songs of this scale. They stop belonging only to the artists. They begin belonging to listeners. Guitar players learned it. Teenagers played it in bedrooms. Record shops heard it endlessly. Radio stations returned to it again and again. Fans treated it as sacred. Critics sometimes treated it as excessive. Comedians made jokes about it, and still the song survived. In fact, the jokes may have helped prove how deeply embedded it had become. Only songs that are truly famous can become cultural shorthand. Stairway to Heaven became shorthand for a particular idea of rock music. Ambitious, mystical, grand, self-serious, beautiful, overblown. All of those descriptions can be true at once. That is part of why it remains interesting. It is not a small song, it does not try to be modest, it reaches for something huge, and sometimes that kind of ambition creates backlash. Robert Plant himself has had a complicated relationship with the song. For listeners, it became a masterpiece. For him, it became something repeated for decades, analyzed endlessly, expected at every show, treated almost like scripture. That can become a burden. Imagine writing words in a particular moment of youth, then hearing them interpreted by millions of people for the rest of your life. A song can become larger than its creator intended. Stairway to Heaven is a perfect example. The mystery around the song did not stop with interpretation. It also became part of a long copyright battle. Decades after its release, Led Zeppelin faced legal claims that the opening section had copied from another song. The dispute became one of the most famous music copyright cases of the modern era. In the end, the courts ruled in Led Zeppelin's favor, but the case showed how intensely people still cared about the origins of Stairway to Heaven. More than 40 years after its release, it was still being debated in courtrooms, newspapers, and living rooms. That is extraordinary. Most songs fade. This one kept generating argument. Part of that is because Stairway to Heaven sits at the center of so many larger questions. What counts as originality? Where does influence end and copying begin? Why do certain chord movements or musical moods feel familiar? How much of a song's power comes from notes, and how much comes from performance, arrangement, timing, and atmosphere? The court case was about law, but the cultural argument was about something bigger. What makes a song unmistakably itself? For Stairway to Heaven, the answer is not just the opening guitar. It is the entire journey. The build, the voice, the drums, the solo, the atmosphere, the contrast between fragility and power, the sense of climbing towards something unknown. That is why the song endured. Not because of one part, because of the whole. And it also endured because listeners kept finding themselves inside it. Some heard spirituality, some heard fantasy, some heard warning, some heard beauty, some heard excess, some heard everything people love and mock about classic rock. And maybe that is why it became impossible to kill. It gave different listeners different versions of itself. A song that can be both deeply sincere and endlessly parodied has a strange kind of immortality. It has entered culture so completely that even people who dislike it know it. That is rare. Stairway to Heaven is not just famous because it was played often. It was played often because people kept responding to it. The song created a space, a slow beginning, a climb, a peak, a release. It gave rock music a kind of architecture, almost like a cathedral built out of guitars, drums, and voice. That may sound grand. But Stairway to Heaven invites grand language. It was built to rise, and rise it did. More than 50 years later, it still raises the same questions. Is it the greatest rock song ever recorded? Is it overplayed? Is it mystical genius? Is it excessive nonsense? Is it all of those things? The fact that people still argue proves the point. Songs do not need universal agreement to last. Sometimes they last because they remain unsettled. Stairway to Heaven remains unsettled. Too famous to ignore, too ambitious to dismiss, too mysterious to fully explain. That is why it became rock's great staircase, a song that begins in quiet shadow, climbs through beauty and tension, and ends in fire. Every great song has a story, and few stories are bigger, stranger, or more mythic than the story behind Stairway to Heaven. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the Stories Behind the Songs for more music history, classic rock stories, and the moments behind the songs we still love today. Thanks for watching.